we look ahead to the 2024 elections. Open seats for governor and U.S. Senate, plus a bigger spotlight on Attorney General and more. From the television studios at WFYI, it's Indiana Week in Review for the week ending December 29th, 2023.
Indiana Week in Review is made possible by the supporters of Indiana Public Broadcasting Stations.
This week, we look ahead to the 2024 governor's race, and more specifically, the Republican primary, shaping up as the most expensive in state history. Indiana hasn't had an open governor's race since 2012, and no Republican has cleared the field this time like Mike Pence did then. Businessman Eric Doden has been in the race for more than 2 years. He was joined in 2022 by Jamie Reitenour, Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, and U.S. Senator Mike Braun. Former Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill entered the field this summer, about a month before former State Commerce Secretary Brad Chambers threw his hat into the ring. Most of them have already raised millions for their campaigns. Who will emerge as the Republican nominee for governor? It's the first question for our Indiana Week in Review panel. Democrat Ann DeLaney. Republican Mike O'Brien. John Schwantes, host of Indiana Lawmakers, and Niki Kelly, editor-in-chief for the Indiana Capital Chronicle. I'm Indiana Public Broadcasting Statehouse Bureau Chief Brandon Smith. Mike O'Brien, I think everybody assumes Mike Braun is the front runner right now. Does he stay that way through Election Day?
So the Trump endorsement still seems to carry a lot of weight. I mean, it's had a mixed result around the country, but in Indiana, it's still a big deal until proven otherwise, and I don't love that. I've got a track record of not loving that on this show, but Braun's got it, and what's been a little bit interesting is how little has changed in that primary field. So yeah, I think Braun's the front runner. I think you've got kind of three guys fighting for the same vote in Brad Chambers and Eric Doden. You've got Suzanne Crouch, Lieutenant Governor Crouch, who I think's got a unique lane to her own. Not only being a woman, but having probably the best grassroots game of the field.
I mean, the amount of endorsements she's rolled out, I mean, almost every day it seems.
Yeah, like. She's the one that rolls into every county in the state, knows who to call, knows the county commissioner, knows the county chairman, and that could be a difference maker. And then you've got Curtis Hill, that 8 to 10% is a big deal in a five-way race. So it's Braun until proven otherwise. Is where we're at right now.
Almost all of these candidates are going to have a lot of money. All of them will have at least some money, but 3 or 4 of them might have a lot of money. Is it almost creating a scenario where the money doesn't matter?
Oh, money always matters. But having said that, this is less a primary and more like an auction. It's who can spend the most in this. But I agree. I hate to say it with Mike, in that when you've got
one last time for the year.
Yeah. When you've got a primary where you've got a number of male candidates with a lot of money, and a female candidate with at least a decent amount of money, and you have a viable primary with that many people, you can't predict the outcome. I don't care whether he's ahead. If you just asked, who do you want to have be governor? When you get to the polling place, she is going to command a percentage of people who think it's time for a woman governor, and that she's more than qualified. Of course, so is Jennifer McCormick, and so it's going to be an interesting kind of general election race. But having said that, I don't think you can predict Mike Braun is the nominee.
And Suzanne Crouch has just started to lean into that a little bit. There was a panel at a legislative conference recently where it was Crouch on stage with Chambers and Hill and Doden, and Braun was participating via pre-taped video messages. But she started her speech, like opening comments with, there's one obvious thing that separates me from everyone else on this stage. It's my red glasses. But she's starting to lean into it in I think a clever way. Can that be a difference maker when we come down to it?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, I'm not comfortable giving a prediction on who will be the nominee. The only thing I will predict is I do think we're going to lose a few candidates before the actual May primary. I think when we see the latest fundraising numbers in mid-January, we're going to see some struggles for 1 or 2 of them, and I think maybe we might lose 1 or 2, and I think maybe 3 go the distance. We'll see.
That'll be the prediction I ask for you then, John, rather than trying to guess which of these 5, because I agree that's very, very difficult to do at this stage. Do all 5 of them, the main candidates, so that's Braun, Chambers, Crouch, Doden, and Hill, which I just did in alphabetical order off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do all 5 of them make it onto the ballot?
Maybe not, and I'm glad you did alphabetically because I was sitting here thinking it's interesting that it might be a reverse alphabetical order in terms of how they drop out, so you can do your own assessment of who would be the first one out.
If we were sitting here in 2015 trying to predict 2016, remember we had 3 lieutenant governors that year, 3 Republican auditors, 2 Democrat candidates for U.S. Senate.
That's right.
And 2 different candidates for governor.
So things can change?
They always
A lot can happen in an Indiana election year.
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
All right. 2024 will also feature an open race for the U.S. Senate, but those primaries look significantly less competitive. Congressman Jim Banks seemed to clear the Republican field when he entered the race this year. Former Governor Mitch Daniels, fresh off his tenure as Purdue president, opted not to run. But Banks might have a primary opponent after all. Egg farmer John Rust is in court over the state's ballot access law, earning an initial positive ruling from a Marion County judge. On the Democratic side, Indianapolis City County Councilor Keith Potts recently ended his campaign, leaving longtime alcohol lobbyist Marc Carmichael and psychologist Valerie McCray as the remaining candidates in that primary. Ann DeLaney, are you surprised at how Banks almost entirely cleared the field for an open Senate seat that in Indiana is largely expected to go Republican?
Yeah, actually. He obviously represents the right wing of the Republican Party. I mean, there's no dispute about that. He's a trumpet.
I think he proudly
He's an election denier.
You just endorsed him, I think, is what
he's
representative of the electorate at large.
He's for an abortion ban. He's against LGBT people. It's just a litany of things. So that's going to make him an appealing prospect to the Republican primary voters. And Marc Carmichael is going to be our nominee without question. And so it's going to be an interesting juxtaposition of a moderate versus a crazy on the Republican side, but he'll be well-funded, and he has Trump, if Trump isn't in jail at the time the next election
Well, I think
comes.
that's unlikely. But are you surprised at how Jim Banks pretty much cleared the field?
Not really. No one's pining for an alternative to Jim Banks. John Rust is run, but I don't know why. Nobody in the party is looking for an alternative to Jim Banks. He's done a great job as a state senator, as a congressman, in cultivating that network and working the state.
How about his votes?
So it's not. Well, that's your job.
Align with certainly his district.
That's your job, not mine. It's unusual to just have almost like a shoe-in this kind of situation, but it's reflective of the work that he's done inside the party and the support he has.
There was an expectation that once Braun got out of the running for re-election to move over to the governor's race, which everybody expected. Look at 2024, you now have 2 open seats in a state where if you're a Republican, you can largely camp out in those seats for, or at least in the Senate, for pretty much as long as you want. I think Todd Young seems to be in it for the long haul and has said that from day one, that he wants to follow in that sort of Richard Lugar mold. I don't know what Jim Banks's aspirations are in terms of how long he might want to stay in the Senate. But are you surprised that we don't have a competitive Senate primary on really either side?
Yes, I am, for the reasons you articulate. It's an opportunity. It's essentially it's not an appointment, but it's a lifetime election, effectively. You're right. And so that would have made it attractive, I would have thought, going into this, to more candidates. I as somebody who enjoys politics and thinks that there's benefit in sort of the rough and tumble aspects of exchanges of ideas and the grilling of candidates, I would have enjoyed seeing, say, Mitch Daniels. That would have been quite an interesting clash.
He didn't get the nomination.
Well, I'm talking about the primary.
Yeah.
That's the interesting part in that race would have been the primary contest, because it does show. I think at least we think we know where the Republican Party is right now, and it seems to be with populism, and it's to the right side. It's where Jim Banks is, and I don't know if that's a permanent, attribute of the party in the state, or if that's if it's in it all shifting or modifying. I don't know. You've probably seen data, Mike, on how many of those individuals came off the sidelines for Trump, 7 years ago, and will not remain engaged if they don't see somebody like Trump at the top of the ticket. There are a lot of unknowns, and it would have been enjoyable to see how that shakes out.
On the last episode of this show, we picked our winners for 2023, and in many ways, is it Jim Banks?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's in perfect prime position. He's got support in the state, nationally. He's got money. He's even kind of got, John Rust is giving him a reason to get some earned media in there, John Rust's challenge of the law, and so he's got it made, I do think one of the reasons he hasn't made, and the reason more didn't go for it, is the just overall dysfunction of Congress the last couple cycles, I think, has scared some people away. If you don't see a way in which you can make a difference, I mean, why would you put up with that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. While there will be a lot of attention on those top ticket races we just talked about in 2024, there could be a brighter than usual spotlight on the race for Indiana Attorney General. Republican incumbent Todd Rokita has attracted significant controversy during his first term. He was publicly reprimanded by the Indiana Supreme Court for his handling of an investigation into Dr. Caitlin Bernard and faces a second investigation from the State Attorney Disciplinary Commission over his reaction to that reprimand. Democrat Destiny Wells has already announced her candidacy, seeking to unseat Rokita. In her launch, she highlighted Rokita's aggressive pursuit of health care providers over abortion and gender-affirming care. Wells previously lost the 2022 race for Indiana Secretary of State against Diego Morales, another controversial candidate, by 14 points. Niki Kelly, could this end up being the most competitive general election race next year?
It should be, and because there are real issues at hand, and performance issues, misconduct issues, whether the state should be getting involved in every single national issue going on. So it should be a great race, and I hope voters pay attention. We'll see. There's an outside possibility that a convention on the Republican side, if Republicans put up some sort of good candidate, could take Rokita out, but that's probably pretty slim.
If voters pay attention is obviously the biggest qualifier there, and rightly so. And helping that along would be money. Do you think there will be significant money in this race? Todd Rokita's already got quite a bit from a long political career. Do you think Destiny Wells, as the Democrat, can raise enough money to make this a competitive
You're right. It
race?
does take, even if you have a lot of baggage, if there's no mechanism for bringing that baggage in front of the
and
voters,
we saw that in Destiny Wells' last race.
and do it
for Secretary of
repeatedly,
State.
I should say. That's tough, and that takes a lot of money. And keep in mind that that's not the only race. You set this up as pointing that's a race among many. Will there be enough oxygen in the room? Will there be enough, even if you had a bottomless well in terms of campaign finances, can you buy enough advertising to move the needle? The challenge I think she faces, as long as Hoosiers can go into the polling place and I don't know, flip switches anymore. I guess that's so past. Yeah, but the equivalent thereof. As long as you can tap in one place on the screen and not make your fingers exercise a little bit and go race by race. That gives a huge advantage in the state in the current climate to Republican candidates.
If we just talked about the Senate race, and I think there's an expectation that the governor's race could be the general election could be somewhat competitive, certainly depending on who the Republican candidate is. I don't think there's that same expectation, though, of the Senate race. So as much as those races further up the ticket often get a lot of the oxygen and the money, could that actually perceived lack of competitiveness help Destiny Wells if she's trying to raise money?
It's noisy, right? It's going to be a noisy fall from the national
fall
level.
And summer and spring.
Right.
Spring and winter. Yeah.
I'm willing to be convinced, but this feels like when we were trying to spin ourselves and tie ourselves in knots, convincing ourselves that Diego was going to lose and he won by 15. When that race was in a vacuum, like there was nothing to pay attention to other than that race. And he won by 15 points.
But there will be a lot more people going to the polls, obviously.
I understand.
Right.
But
and the difference was money in that. And where her message got out, she won big. And that's the challenge this time around. But this race could attract national money. given his absolutely appalling performance so far. I mean, he's a disgrace to the state of Indiana, and that's apparent to a lot of people. So I think she faces a challenge to raise the money, but if she raises the money and tells voters that Todd Rokita is a disgrace to Indiana, I think she wins.
I'm glad you got to talk about Todd Rokita one last
Oh,
time
well,
before
you know,
we end the year.
he's the gift that keeps on giving. Ask the disciplinary commission.
The 2024 presidential race looks to be headed for a rematch between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Biden appears to have an easy path toward renomination, even as he has attracted a few primary challenges amid struggling poll numbers, voter concerns about inflation, and worries about his age. The Republican primary field is much broader and included for a few months former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence. But none of those candidates is anywhere close to Trump in the polls, even as the former president faces criminal charges in state and federal courts. John Schwantes, we struggle in Indiana more than many other states to get voters to come out to the polls. Is it going to be a problem? Is there going to be voter fatigue if at the very top of the ticket it's those two again?
If it's chronic fatigue syndrome or some malaise that affects Hoosier voters. Sadly, we are always at the bottom of the rankings.
It's not sad. It's done deliberately. We make it difficult for people to vote in the state deliberately.
There are ways to vote, and unfortunately, a lot of Hoosiers don't take advantage of those opportunities. You're right, the deck may be stacked, but nevertheless, you can't just, there's shared responsibility here.
No question.
And so, yeah, that's a frustration. And now Donald Trump is interesting. He sort of combats the notion of fatigue, and by that I mean he has such a crazed cult-like following here and elsewhere that he would mobilize, he would inject some kind of, speed, Adderall, meth into the, figuratively speaking, into the blood vessels of his backers.
Well, we certainly saw that in 2016.
Yes.
I mean, people coming and engaging with the process more than they ever
I'm not a
have
physician over there. I'm not trying to administer health care.
Republican primary voters meth heads. I think what you did.
Now, but
I don't know what he was calling them, but I don't think Republican voters are meth heads.
But here's the flip side. Not only does he energize his base voters, but also, unlike anybody else, he mobilizes Democrats and people who are alarmed by the prospect and would get off their couches and maybe go and vote and actually show up the polls in a way they might not if it were somebody that they would not find as inherently offensive. So it's this weird thing that he can mobilize people on both sides of the aisle for different reasons.
Yeah, but after, 2015, so how many years is that? 8 years. It's going to be 9 years by the time we get to the general election next year. After 9 years of Donald Trump, whether you like him, love him, or hate him, are you and Joe Biden? I don't think energizing anyone.
I was going to say it's not just.
Donald Trump. Yeah, and Joe Biden, I don't think is energizing anybody.
Nope.
But he may not have to if there's.
But if you're a voter, you're just tired of it all by the time we get to.
There is no race in my life that I'm less excited about than a Trump-Biden rematch, and I can't be the only one. I mean, I'm over it, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't even want to listen. Everything that comes out of, frankly, both of them have trouble with misremembering or telling lies or however you want to say it or exaggerating things. And my only hope is that someone will break through to bring a little sanity to the top of the ticket.
Well, I'm not going to make a lot of predictions. I think I can safely predict that won't happen.
I know.
But if you're anyone not at the top of the ticket, so anyone on down from Senate, U.S. Senate, Governor, AG, or Statehouse, whatever, do you try your best to ignore the top of the ticket as much as humanly possible here in Indiana?
Well, you're not going to get that with Banks. Banks is going to be embracing.
Or Braun if he's the candidate.
Or Braun if he's the nominee.
But there's
they're
no
going
evidence
to
that they
be
shouldn't do
embracing
that.
Trump.
Not
and
yet.
The problem is people get motivated by a lot of different things. And Joe Biden's done a darn good job, and by the way, does not lie, unlike Donald Trump.
I said exaggerates.
Well, but you also said lies, and you said in context of the
three
both.
different examples of things both of them do.
All right. So the problem is for a lot of us looking at that and looking at the prospect of Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years is a big motivating factor, and I'm not alone. I talk to people all the time that have no interest in politics at all and just say, how can they possibly nominate this boob for another 4 years?
Or more than 4 years.
Or more than 4 years. Anyway,
Depending on
yeah. So
where he
yeah,
takes
he
it,
may,
where
he
he
may,
takes it.
he may become the dictator on day one. So I think that there's going to be the turnout necessary
like Trump.
because what's at stake, frankly, is the future of democracy in this country.
We've seen in 2016 and 2020, particularly in 2016, there were expectations that maybe John Gregg could win the governor's race. In 2020, there was an expectation that with all the backlash against Trump, maybe it would help Democrats. It did not materialize in Indiana in those two.
It was close, though.
Last
Boy,
two.
it was real close. In
in
the
in the governor's race
Yeah.
for a little while, yeah. If you're a Democrat in Indiana, are you worried that once again it'll be?
Yeah,
well,
I'm worried. Yeah, I'm
Are you worried
Democrat in Indiana.
that Donald Trump is still just the coattails of Donald Trump?
There's no
will
evidence to
override
suggest you
everything?
shouldn't be worried. Republicans are getting double-digit wins out of all of these races, and they have since 2016. I do think Republicans. A Wall Street Journal poll came out this week that had Trump beating Biden 47-44. If you put Nikki Haley in there, she wins 58-33. So there isn't this like watershed love of Joe
you're not
Biden. It's
gonna
just it's motivated by fear of the alternative.
Trump. Yeah.
And both parties, I think, again, are going to nominate the only one the other one can get beat by instead of one that could clearly win. And that's what we did in 2016.
Do you think
how we
Republican
got
voters
here.
will vote for Biden, the ones who are unhappy, or do they just sit on the
There's
sidelines?
Or the moderates.
obviously, because, I mean, if you just look at that one poll, of course, because if you take Trump out of it and the Republicans win in by 20 points, nationally, that's unheard of.
But you don't nominate Nikki Haley.
I understand. That's
Okay.
what
I want to ask. I want to ask about the Statehouse races. So we saw in the 2022 election, after a round of redistricting, Senate Republicans picked up a seat, House Republicans lost a seat. Do you see a swing of more than 2 seats in either direction in either chamber after 2024?
Not more than 2, probably. I just don't.
Marginal.
Yeah.
We're nominating the right people in those marginal districts,
Yeah.
too.
Well, there aren't that many
Again,
marginal seats.
unless who knows what happens at the federal level or in the economy. But if everything is chugging along more or less as it is now, I think at the margins we'll see difference.
Do you think House Democrats can? I mean, they'd need 3. I think they need to put 3 or 4 to break the supermajority. You think there's any chance of that?
Probably not. I mean, there's only 8 to 10 competitive districts statewide, and the
Across both the
Republicans
House
are
and
always
Senate, for the most
exactly,
part,
and
yeah.
the Republicans are always going to outspend Democrats too. So.
We've started to see a few legislative retirements from the donut counties around Indianapolis. We saw a couple in Carmel and Hamilton County and Boone County, and Donna Shively and Jerry Torr. We saw State Senator John Crane down in Avon, who announced that he's not running for another term. There's been talk for years now that Democrats are going to finally make inroads in the donut counties around Indianapolis, and we haven't seen a lot of.
2024, it's going to happen.
Why is 2024 going to be the one?
I think we can
breaks
beat
through?
the supermajority. I really do. I think we have candidates in districts that maybe not exactly 50-50, but they're trending that way, and they are working hard and going door to door, and I think there's a distinct, with the presidential election and the pull on voters, I think there's a distinct possibility we'll break the supermajority in the House.
I think the one competitive race that I think we don't often think about is the new district that was vacated, in a sense, by Jeff Ellington down south of Bloomington, in which Dave Hall, the Republican, only won by, I think it was less than 100 votes.
Yeah.
So that's another one that certainly a lot of eyes will be on. But do you feel like it'll just be status quo at the State House?
As long as we nominate the right guys. I mean, Danny Lopez in Hamilton County is a great candidate for that Jerry Torr seat. Brett Clark
is also a great candidate.
Brett Clark in Hendricks County, replacing
I'm
John
sure you
Crane
meant
as the
guys
Senate.
and gals.
I noticed
Guys
that
and
too.
gals, yeah.
Freudian.
So far, mostly
no, he
guys.
didn't.
Yes,
So far,
I
most-
did.
All right, finally, it's that time of year when people make New Year's resolutions. Mike O'Brien, what should Indiana's New Year's resolution be?
As a guy who works at the Statehouse during session, I hope we heed Todd Houston's call to have a light session. Let's go. We got all this politics to figure out. Let's pivot out of this session and go figure it out.
New Year's resolution for Indiana.
I wish the legislature would leave the cultural issues alone. Leave women's bodies alone.
Not predict that for
Yeah.
the 2024 session. Niki Kelly, do you have a New Year's resolution for Indiana?
Oh gosh, I mean, it sounds Pollyanna to say I hope we get back to focusing more on, issues that impact Hoosiers more than sort of these esoteric fights at the top. But I guess
Well, 2023 session had a lot of both. Had a lot of both. John, New Year's resolution for Indiana.
Cut back on sweets and go to the gym every day.
for the state.
For the whole state.
I'm talking the state.
Honestly,
Yeah.
looking at our health metrics.
Look at our health care. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's actually probably not bad. A New Year's resolution for Indiana. I'm going to be a sane election cycle. I want it to be competitive. I want it to be interesting.
Very subjective.
Is that that's a relative scale, though? I mean, that's.
I would like Indiana help me stay sane for the 2024 election cycle.
Well, I'm sure everybody will sign up with that goal.
I hope so. That's Indiana Week in Review for this week. Our panel is Democrat Ann DeLaney, Republican Mike O'Brien, John Schwantes of Indiana Lawmakers, and Niki Kelly of the Indiana Capital Chronicle. You can find Indiana Week in Review's podcast and episodes at wfyi.org/IWIR or on the PBS video app. I'm Brandon Smith of Indiana Public Broadcasting. Join us next time because a lot can happen in an Indiana week.
The opinions expressed are solely those of the panelists. Indiana Week in Review is a WFYI production in association with Indiana's public broadcasting stations.